Good morning, creative writers. I hope you are enjoying your Black Day screencasts from me. Um, I'm hoping that these are helpful, especially because a lot of you said you'd rather have screencasts than try to do a Zoom, which I understand is a lot easier because then you can do these on your own time. And if you ever need anything else, please let me know. I am here for you. So today's focus in poetry is more with sound. So this little study guide that I have up on the screen right now is definitely going to talk about sound like we've already talked about, which is rhyme. And we're not going to worry about focusing on rhyme today. We're going to focus on some other sound devices that poets use to add, fluidity and cohesion and emphasis to certain parts of their poems. So it's always fun to play with the sound of your letters and the sounds of words, especially if you've never tried that before. So I'm going to scroll past the rhyme. Yes, rhyme is a very key sound device in poetry. We've already played with that. And we're going to go down, and we played with repetition as well. We're going to go down to right here, where it says alliteration, assonance, and consonance. These are the three sound devices that I want you to play with and focus on today. If we were in class, this is one of my favorite lessons that we do in class because there are a lot of different activities that we do. So I tried to create some of those for you on a document, so I'll be sharing that with you, obviously. But let me first make sure you guys understand these sound devices. So alliteration is the most, obvious one, the one that a lot of people learn early on. It's just when poets repeat the same sound in like the first letter of their words. So that famous tongue twister, Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. You see that the P sound is repeated at the start of these words in a row. Now, you don't have to do every word in a line like this. In fact, it's, frowned against to do every single word in a line. But you should try to see if you can repeat at least two times. Repeat that letter sound at least two times. And remember, alliteration is the beginning of a word, not in the middle, not at the end, in the beginning. And it doesn't actually have to be the same letter. It's the same letter sound. So for example, if you wanted to repeat the S sound, but you wanted to work with, a word that starts with a CE, right? Then you could do that. It's not about what the letter is, it's about what the letter sound is. So just kind of keep that in mind. Same thing, how, if you try to have that S sound, well, an S sound is very different from an SH sound. So you wouldn't want to repeat, the SH sound with an S sound. It wouldn't be the same sound. Or like the CH that has a very different, the ch sound is very different from the k sound. But that k sound can be used with both a C or a K. I hope that this is making sense. And then for assonance, as it says here, that's when we're flipping over to our vowel sound. This is only with vowels. So alliteration is only with consonants and assonance is only with vowels. So your A, E, I, O, U letters, and it's the repetition of specific vowel sounds. And if you remember, every vowel has two sounds, a long sound, which is exactly how you would say the vowel, like A, E, I, O, U. Those are the vowels' long sounds. And then the short sounds, right? Like ah, eh, I, right? Those are your sounds. You have 10 different sounds for your vowels, two for each, one long, one short. So in assonance, you're repeating that, like, one of those vowel sounds over and over again. Here it says, how strange it is to hover over words like the smoke from the loggers' fires over the valley. So you have that O sound a lot in this poem. That's assonance. And then consonants, it's kind of similar to alliteration, except for instead of repeating the consonants just at the beginning of the word, it can be repetition of that sound anywhere in the word. So in the middle of the word, at the end of the word. This example by Lewis Carroll, right? You have that S sound, right? The moon was, it's at the end, shining sulkily because she thought the sun had got no business, right? S is here to be there after the day was done. It's S right there. Very rude of him, she said, to come and spoil the fun. So you see that that S sound is not just limited to the beginning of the word, which is alliteration. It's throughout, which we call that consonance when you're repeating that letter sound anywhere in your words. So I hope this little overview is helpful for you. If I kind of get out of there and go to your assignment for today, I'm hoping that you'll challenge yourself in 3 parts. The first one, to try to build your awareness and make sure you do understand these 3 types of sound devices: alliteration, consonants, and assonance. I've tried to make this easy for you on activity 1, reminded you of the definition, given you an example, and I just want you to write 1 line that shows that you understand that device. So 1 line that uses alliteration somehow, and then 1 line that uses consonants, 1 line that uses assonance. Once you've done that and you feel like, yes, I get it, I know what these mean, then I'm going to have you try activity 2. If we were in class, you would have been just kind of like picking a card from a stack that I had in front of you, and on that card would be 1 consonant. That would be your fate. You would use that consonant. So I want you to challenge yourself to maybe pick any consonant at all. Or if you have a dictionary, just open it up and point to, whatever consonant, letter, whatever one you open it to. But make sure it's a consonant, not a vowel. And then with that, I want you to try to do these activities. I want you to brainstorm some words that actually begin with my letter. So if you pick the letter T, you could start with things like try or time or today, right? Anything that begins with T, and then you'd come into this one and brainstorm as many words as you can that have that letter somewhere in the middle. Later or batter or flatter, right? So anything where you could have that letter in the middle, and then you would brainstorm words that end with that letter, maybe like the word let or get or even forget, right? So anything that might end with your letter, you would put there. So the more you brainstorm here, the easier it will be to do the next 2 activities. So really try to challenge yourself to maybe get a solid 10 to 12, 10 to 15 words in each of these boxes. I do know that some letters may not have as many words that end with that letter, so it definitely will depend on what letter you pick, but pick any letter you want and try to brainstorm just lists of words in these 3 columns. With that, look at all those words and see if you can create 3 different phrases, almost like poetic phrases that could kind of fit together in a cool way. So if I wanted to maybe use that T example, today I wrote a letter to forget, right? Maybe that's a cool phrase I might say, or a letter to forget, even just those few words. That's an interesting concept that uses the T. And I'm practicing both alliteration, where it's at the beginning of the word, but also consonants, where it can be anywhere in the word. So I'm practicing both, and I'm going to come up with those 3 phrases. Then in the last, forgot to change that. I'll change that now. Activity 3, or step 3. In the last box, try to see if you can actually create a 1 stanza poem using some of the phrases that you had come up with. Obviously, you can add some words in, you can add some more ideas, and if you have a really cool idea that you want to run with, you can certainly make this like a 2 stanza, 3 stanza, 5 stanza poem. But at the very least, try to see if you can get 1 stanza in there just to get that practice in with alliteration and consonants. Then you're going to pop on over to activity 3, which is our assonance activity. You're going to focus on vowel sounds. Normally we play hot potato. We pass around cards with these different letters on them, and it's a fun little game that we play in class. We cannot do that virtually. So instead, I want you to start by just familiarizing yourself with all 10 of those sounds and really intimately considering the sounds of our vowels. So in each of these boxes, I've started a list for you, and I want you to try to add at least 5 to 10 additional words to each of these boxes, just so you can get familiar with actually recognizing the vowel sounds in words and what our options are for vowel sounds. A lot of times writers, unless they focus on sound, sometimes they don't even notice how sounds can make an impact in their writing. And I want you to do that today. I want you to really pay attention to how sounds maybe create a feeling or, actually add layers to what you're trying to say. So come up with a few for each box and then pick one. Pick one after you've brainstormed. Maybe you have one that you really like. Or, as I say up here, the cool thing about vowels consonants do it too, but vowels really do it, is they sort of link us to some sort of emotion. Like these vowel sounds have almost a connotation to them. They generate thoughts and feelings within us. And so if you want to know what I mean, Sylvia Plath, she's a very famous poet. She wrote a poem called Daddy, and I've attached it for you to look at. She uses the long U sound in that poem because she's really disgusted by her father's behavior. She's mad, she's angry, and she thinks that repetition of the ooh, ooh, ooh sound, it really generates for her this disgust. And she wanted to get that across, not just in her words, but in the sound. When you read the poem, she wanted the sound to sort of emulate those emotions. So, if you hear the long A, like the A sound, last year I had a kid say, that just reminds me of like, somebody walking down the hall who's all full of himself, like A, and kind of, so he wrote a poem that kind of had this cocky tone to it, using a lot of A, like words that had that A sound in them, and it was actually really successful. So if you have a certain, thought or feeling or idea that just kind of comes to you that you kind of associate with any of these letters, I encourage you to use that and try to write a poem that uses that sound to enhance the message that you're trying to convey. It could be pretty cool. Oops, I made the same mistake right here. So let me just fix that. Boom. So hopefully you're following me. Hopefully you see what we're trying to do here. Once you pick one of those vowel sounds, you are going to do the same thing you did in the previous activity and come up with a few phrases from that list that you wanted to pick. So you may want to add some more words in, that's fine, but come up with a few phrases, and then similarly, like we did before, try to do a poem, try to craft a one stanza poem that really focuses on on assonance. And hopefully this is all very helpful for you as you are playing with poetry. So the last thing I'll say to you is that I did attach a video. It is an awesome video right here. Normally when we do this, this day in class of sound devices, I open with this video. It is Daniel Radcliffe. Yes, he plays Harry Potter, and he is rapping a song called Alphabet Aerobics. And Blackalicious originally sings this song, but he's rapping it, and the way it goes is he starts with the letter A, and his first few lines, all the words start with A, or most of the words start with A, and then he goes to B, and then he goes to C. So it actually is a really good example of, alliteration, assonance, and consonants, just sound devices used in quote-unquote poetry, right? It's Blackalicious's rap, and some of his lines are a little silly, but most of them do make sense, so it's a fun little way to get you into the sound devices. So maybe you want to start, today and be inspired by watching Harry Potter and his rap of alphabet aerobics. It should be pretty fun. So I hope that I've given you enough to go off of. I hope that you understand what you're doing today. And I thank you guys for all of your hard work and for hopefully having some fun with poetry amid everything that you're doing. Just reach out and let me know if you need anything at all. And as always, I will be here for you. Talk to you soon.